Good day, everyone. By the way, my name is Marvin Q. Marga, second year student of 𝙼𝙸𝙲𝙗 Foundation College Incorporated. So, for this day, I am your teacher to discuss a specific topic, which is the subject-verb agreement. But before anything else, who anyone from the class can recall our discussion yesterday? Yes? Yes, very good. Our discussion for yesterday is all about the noun. Okay, class? When we say noun, what is it? So, when we say noun, it is a name of a person, place, things, objects, events, or anything else that name something. And our learning objectives is explain the importance of subject-verb agreement. Last, discuss the 12 basic rules of subject-verb agreement. So, who among you here who has an idea about subject and verb agreement? So, yes? Yes, very good, you got it. When we say subject, it is the doer of the action. And when we say verb, it is an action word. Okay, class, please read. Yes. Subject-verb agreement means that a subject and its verb must be both singular or both plural. A singular takes a singular verb. A plural subject takes a plural verb. So let's proceed to the rule number 1. If the subject is singular, the verb must be singular too. So according to the rule number 1, if the subject is singular, we need a singular verb also. Just take a look at an example. Let's read. She writes every day. Okay, class? From the sentence, please locate the subject and the verb. Yes, very good. From the sentence, she writes every day, the subject is she. She is our subject, which is singular. So that's why our verb must be singular also, which is writes with S. So the second example is, they are currently in a managerial role at the organization. So obviously our subject is they, which is plural, and we need a plural form of the verb, which is are. Rule number 2. If the subject is plural, the verb must also be plural. So if the subject is plural, the verb must plural. Just like the example. They write every day. So our subject is they and our verb is write without S because it is a plural form of the verb. The second example is, the dogs chase the cat. So guys, please identify the subject here. From the sentence, the dogs chase the cat. Yes, very good. The subject is a dogs, which is a plural. So that's why we need a plural form of the verb, which is chase without S. Rule number 3. When the subject of the sentence is composed of 2 or more nouns or pronouns connected by and, use a plural form of the verb. Just like, for example, the doctoral student and the committee members write every day. Obviously, our subject is plural. So that's why we need a plural form of the verb, which is plural also, the word write. And our subject is the doctoral student and the committee members. The second example is, the percentage of employees who called in sick and the number of employees who left their jobs within 2 years are reflective of the level of job satisfaction. So from this example, our subject is plural also. That's why we use the plural form of the verb, which is are. Rule number 4. When there is one subject and more than one verb, the verbs throughout the sentence must agree with the subject. So according to the rule number 4, when there is one subject and more than one verb, the verb must agree with the subject. Just like the example. Okay, class, please read. Yes. Interviews are one way to collect data and allow researchers to gain an in-depth understanding of participants. So, from this example, our subject is interviews, which is the plural form of the subject, and our verbs are and allow. The second example is an assumption is something that is generally accepted as true and is an important consideration when conducting a doctoral study. Rule number 5. When a phrase comes between the subject and the verb, remember that the verb still agrees with the subject, not the noun or pronoun in the phrase following the subject of the sentence. Just like for the example. Let's read. The student with all the master's degrees is very motivated. So, the student here is our subject, which is a singular. So that's why we use a singular form of the verb, which is. So another example is, the focus of the interviews was 9 purposely selected participants. So our subject is the focus and our verb was, because the action is already done. So let's proceed to the rule number 6. When 2 or more singular nouns or pronouns are connected by or nor, use a singular verb. From the example, the chairperson or the CEO approves the proposal before proceeding. So, our subject is the person, chairperson or the CEO, which is a singular subject. So that's why we use the singular form of the verb, which is approves. Rule number 7. When a compound subject contains both a singular, a plural noun or pronoun joined by or nor, the verb should agree with the part of the subject that is closest to the verb. This is called the rule of proximity. So, look at the example. From the example, the student or the committee members write every day. So, according to rule number 7, that the subject that is close to the verb, that is called proximity. So, obviously, the subject is the committee members, which is a plural. So, that's why we use a plural form of the verb, which is write without S. Another example is, the committee members or the student writes every day. So don't be confused, guys. So let's focus that the subject that closest to the verb, that is our subject. So from the example, our subject is the students, that is the student, that is singular. So that's why we use a singular form of the verb, which is writes with S. Rule number 8. The words or phrases each one, either, neither, everyone, everybody, anyone, anybody, nobody, somebody, someone, and no one are singular and require a singular verbs. Just like for example, each of the participants was willing to be recorded. So, according to the rule number 8, if we read the example like each, everybody, anybody, we use a singular form of the verb. So that's why each is our subject, which is singular, and we use a verb was because the action was already done. Another example is, no one was available to meet with me at the preferred time. So our subject is no one, a singular subject, and we use was as verb, which is past tense because the action was already done. Rule number 9. Non-count nouns take a singular verb, just like for example, education is the key to success. So obviously, education here is our singular subject and our singular verb, which is. So another example is, diabetes affects many people around the world. So diabetes here is our singular subject and our singular verb was affects. Rule number 10. Some countable nouns in English, such as earnings, goods, odds, surroundings, proceeds, contents, and valuables, only have a plural form and take a plural verb. Just like, for example, the earnings for this quarter exceed expectations. So our subject is the earnings, which is plural form of the subject, and we use as a plural of the verb, which is exceed. Another example is locally produced goods have the advantage of shorter supply chains. So our subject is locally produced goods, which is plural form of the subject, and have is our plural verb. Rule number 11. In sentences beginning with there is or there are, the subject follows the verb. Since there is not the subject, the verb agrees with what follows the verb. Just like, for example, there is little administrative support. So our subject is administrative support, which is singular. So that's why we use singular verb, which is. So another example is there are many factors affecting teacher retention. So the subject here is factors, which is a plural form of the subject, and we use a plural verb, which is are. Rule number 12. Collective nouns are words that imply more than one person but are considered singular and take a singular verb. Some examples are group, team, committee, family, and class. So look at the example here. The group meets every week. So the group here is our subject, which is singular. So that's why we use a singular form of the verb, which is meets. And another example is the committee agrees on the quality of the writing. So the committee here is the singular subject. So that's why we use a singular form of the verb, which is agrees. So here is the purpose of my discussion about subject-verb agreement. It's crucial to make sure that the subjects and verbs are consistent. The foundation of grammatically sound English writing is the link between subjects and verbs. A phrase is more cohesive and understandable when the subject and verb agree. Thank you so much for listening and for your active participation, class, and hope you will learn something today. That's it for today, and see you next meeting. Bye and God bless.